If you're a mother to little kids, chances are you have felt overwhelmed at some point in your mothering journey, whether it is just endless laundry, endless cleaning, feeling like you can never quite stay on top of cooking meals for your family, or making sure that your house is relatively tidy, or signing your children up for that reading program you've been meaning to do, or taking them to the zoo like you've thought you would do several times this year. Learning that new skill that you've been putting off but really feel like would add to your life. Making time for yourself and self-care. There's just a lot of things, and it's hard to know what to prioritize. If you're anything like me, there's times where you know and you feel confident and you're taking it all in stride. And then there are moments, there are seasons where you feel like there are more demands on your time than time available. There's just no possible way you can accomplish everything that feels like a priority, feels like something that really has to be done. And in those moments and in those seasons, you may wonder, is it supposed to be this hard? Don't people talk about having a village? It takes a village to raise a child. We've all heard that saying, and I see a lot of modern moms, I'm one myself, wondering where their village is. Where is this support system, this community that's supposed to come alongside me and help me raise these children? What does it even look like to have a village? What was it like living 100 years ago, 200 years ago, whatever time period we might imagine where someone had something that we don't currently have in this modern day? For the record, I do think that there was a village back in the day, something that we definitely lack today. But I really wondered when I heard people talk about it on the internet, what they imagined that that village would look like. Because I think it's important to first ponder that, to really know what it is that we're asking for. I also think it's really important to not set ourselves up for unrealistic expectations. And sometimes I think we throw around things that we think were true of the past, or romanticize things of the past that maybe weren't true, and then it makes us feel hopeless for our situation today because it's not like that. I, just as much as anyone else, can fall into a victim mentality in my home and in my motherhood, and it doesn't serve myself. It doesn't serve my family. When everyone's talking about wanting a village and feeling like we don't have a village anymore today, I'm wondering what our expectations are of a village and what it is that we are truly missing out on. And though I think that modern life does not support mothers in the way that it supported mothers in the past, which can feel so isolating, can feel so hard, I'm a little skeptical of the modern interpretation of what the village was. And I think that's important to know so we can maybe have some hope of getting it back. I recently did a podcast episode with Ruth Ann Zimmerman. She's been on the podcast before, and I think we were supposed to talk about things like cooking and motherhood stuff. Not that we didn't, because this village topic is very much in the motherhood topic genre. But she had so many nuggets of wisdom for me on the topic of the village. She put it in a way that I never had heard it said before, and I had many, many light bulb moments. This is something I've been thinking about so much lately. I've been talking about it with my sisters. I've been talking about it with friends. There's been a lot more chatter lately about the village and our lack of it. We all can kind of feel that lack of support, but I think that a lot of us don't even know what it is we're looking for or what it would feel like to have a community and a support system around us. We have been having so many cool mornings. The temperatures have been dropping. Summer is definitely fading into fall. And I am officially nearing the end of my pregnancy. And it has me thinking about a capsule wardrobe, some things that will work in my postpartum season for fall. And then I even have some things that would work right now at the very, very end. I want to tell you about today's video sponsor, ThredUp. ThredUp is the world's largest online thrift shop with the mission to reduce fashion waste. It's super easy to get on ThredUp to thrift the things that you need, even if you're a busy mom. I go on there, I sort by the brands that I want, I sort by the items I'm specifically looking for, like right now, cozy fall sweaters, and by my sizes so that I can make it a easy experience and thrift my whole wardrobe without even having to leave my own home. I'm going to show you a few of the things that I picked up that I think will work great for fall. The first on the list is this Gap casual skirt. I have been getting through this whole pregnancy with elastic high-waisted skirts. After pregnancy, I can pull it down lower, but I like the flexibility that elastic skirts have. This one has an estimated retail price of $60 and a ThredUp price of $19.99. I paired it with this J. Crew 3/4 sleeve t-shirt. I went ahead and tied it because right now, of course, it's above this skirt. It has an estimated retail price of $50 and a ThredUp price of $13.99. In keeping with the fall capsule theme, I'm definitely going to need a lot of great staple pieces. I also added this Gap cardigan. It has an estimated retail price of $69 and a ThredUp price of $21.99. I think it really ties this whole outfit together. I will wear it all just a little differently postpartum, but I know flexible, high quality pieces like this will work great. I also picked up for this outfit some sorrel ankle boots. These will carry me all through the fall. I always like a basic high quality boot. These had an estimated retail price of $127 and a ThredUp price of $50.74. I also grabbed this Henny and Lev leather tote. It's big enough that I think it'll work great for a diaper bag as well. I don't carry around a ton of stuff for babies. I usually just have a baby wrap, a few diapers, and maybe a nursing cover and some wipes. So I think this will work great. It has an estimated retail price of $229 and a ThredUp price of $78.99. This next top I am just excited for postpartum because it's comfy, it's cute. It is from J. Crew. It has an estimated retail price of $48 and a ThredUp price of $18.99. I also picked up another cardigan by J. Crew. I like to have a few different colors of high quality cardigans that I can put with just about everything. This one has an estimated retail price of $98 and a ThredUp price of $26.99. Sweater like this will be great postpartum. Pair it with some denim if I'm brave enough. This turtleneck sweater is by Abercrombie & Fitch. It has an estimated retail price of $80 and a ThredUp price of $23.99. I grabbed this easy to wear comfortable dress by Loft. I like that it'll look really cute and cozy. When I'm trying to do a capsule wardrobe, I like it when all the pieces just mix and match. It has an estimated retail price of $90 and a ThredUp price of $25.99. Tap my link and use code FARMHOUSE50 to shop my ThredUp faves and get 50% off your first order plus free shipping. I will also leave it linked down in the description box below. I think we kind of imagine that a village would be a group of people willing to come and provide physical help. Maybe come in and wash some laundry for us, or clean the house, or take some kids off our hands so we could have some alone time. And I'm not saying that wouldn't be a very helpful perk of a village, of a group of people who are interested in your family, interested in your children enough to want to provide that kind of support. But what Ruth Ann brought up that really made me think was how much the village is more than that physical help, and sometimes maybe not even physical help. And though it's nice to have a little break from the everyday things, it's a temporary break. And what we all need more than that is support, community. Ruth Ann talked about how there was a natural village. So back in the day, and I don't even think it was 100 years ago, because we were both realizing that we had a village when we first became mothers. It didn't mean that somebody was coming over to our house and scrubbing the toilets or taking the kids off our hands. That wasn't the kind of village that I had when I was a young mother, and it, from my understanding, wasn't the kind of village that Ruth Ann had. But the kind of village that we had was better than that. Before I tell you about the village that I had and Ruth Ann had, I want to tell you a little bit about what I'm doing here in my kitchen. There's a recipe over on farmhouseonboone.com, my blog, my website. If you aren't familiar, I share all my sourdough recipes over there. I share easy dinner recipes. I'm trying to include more and more dinner recipes for your busy evenings, for things to try maybe on an evening where you're not busy and you want to do a little bit more in your kitchen. I will leave linked below what I'm making here. I'm also milling some fresh grains for cookies. I've been making all of my regular cookie recipes that are over on farmhouseonboone.com with freshly milled soft white wheat. And I learned a hot tip. Again, I had another podcast guest who was able to share her wisdom on this thing that's kind of been a little bit of a game changer to me. Lily from the Flour Barn Bakery. She runs a micro bakery. We talk business and motherhood and making all those things work together. She shared her tip for first weighing the grains, and then when you put it through the mill, you have exactly what you need. Usually I just mill a bunch and then I feed my sourdough starter with the rest. But I like this when you're not planning to feed your sourdough starter or you just want to get it done really fast. And then in the case for me, a lot of times my daughter wants to make cookies. I want her to make them with whole grain. So I just quickly get the amount of flour that she's going to need for her recipe to save her that step. So my rule of thumb is for any cookie recipe, I am doing 130 grams of soft white wheat per cup of flour. I've been experimenting with this. So I've been doing hard wheat and I was doing 140 grams. Recently, I feel like I really landed on the sweet spot, and it's a forever evolving and changing thing in my kitchen because I'm always trying new things. But 130 grams of soft white wheat per cup of flour that the recipe calls for seems to be just the perfect ratio. I venture to say they taste better than even using all-purpose flour. I don't know if my kids necessarily think that, but they also don't see any downside with the whole grain. I don't see why I wouldn't just always use whole grain when making cookies just to make them that much healthier. Back before we could go to Instagram and get quick little tips and tricks and learn how to do all the things with motherhood and learn all the things that we should be worrying about when it comes to our homes, when it comes to being a mother, things that I never even had heard of when I was 23 and I had just had my first baby. Back before all of that, there was a natural village in place, a phone call to a mother, an aunt, a grandparent. Instead of experts, instead of a lot of confusing opinions, because there are so many of them, we had trusted voices that could tell us, hey, don't worry about that. That's not how I did it, and you all turned out fine. Someone to simplify things, someone close who loves and cares to put things into perspective, ease our cares and fears, and take off the mental burden of motherhood. I am moving on to a cake that is on my website as well, but I just mixed up a batch of my beginner sourdough bread. This is my go-to sourdough bread. I make it all the time. Now I make it with half hard white wheat and half all-purpose, but I leave the grams of flour the same and follow the recipe exactly, other than adding a bit more whole grain content. I wanted to ask you all for a favor. If I helped you on your sourdough journey, if I helped to simplify it for you, would you be willing to head over to the main bread recipe on my site? So if you go to farmhouseonboone.com, it's the first recipe there at the top, my beginner sourdough bread, and leave a 5-star review. I'm running a little giveaway. So everyone who leaves a review, I'm going to put you all in a spreadsheet and randomly generate a winner. And one of you will get a $500 gift card that you could put towards maybe a grain mill. If you already have a grain mill, maybe you could put it towards other baking supplies that you are interested in. And for those of you who I asked a similar thing a couple weeks ago over on Instagram, I will throw you into the giveaway as well, because I just mentioned that and then so many of you showed up and gave a review, which was so encouraging. But just know that if you did that, if you were over on my Instagram and you left a review, that I will put you in the giveaway as well. This will run for 1 week, but I would love it if you would support my site. If I helped you to learn sourdough, if I helped to simplify it for you by leaving a review. So I'll leave a link to that recipe below so you could go over there and give it a rating. And of course, links to all of the other recipes I'm making. Yesterday, when I was already in the kitchen, already doing a few things, I threw a pork shoulder roast in the Instant Pot, and then I put a bunch of barbecue sauce on it, put it in a dish, and put it in the fridge, which means that I have a quick and easy dinner tonight. So I'm just gonna spread some chips, some meat, some cheese. I'll bring out all the toppings like salsa and sour cream, but I need to keep it fast and easy so we can head over to the farm to check on some of the build progress. So what conclusion did Ruth and I draw about today's state of the village and why we don't feel like we have one anymore and how we can have one again someday? Well, you can listen to the podcast episode. It comes out on September 9th. We were recording a bit ahead because I wanted to get ahead for a maternity break. So you'll have to head over to Simple Farmhouse Life Podcast here on YouTube, subscribe, and wait for that interview. But there's a lot of factors that come into play. I hate to always just blame everything on social media, but I do think that we default to the people that we see on the internet, which is obviously a bit of a weird thing to talk about on a podcast, to talk about on a YouTube channel, because that's, the mission of my social channels is to help you all in your home. And yet I hope that you find the people who are closest to you, who are invested in your children, who love them, who love you, who could offer you some practical advice, who could offer you that support to reach out to them. We can't just default to what honestly feels a little easier, to just sit in our home, get on our phones, get on a screen, and replace the natural village with a fake one. Another thing Ruth and I talked a lot about is in our older years, what it looks like to be a village for the younger generation. We only have guesses and ideas about why there no longer is a village, why people feel very unsupported and alone in motherhood and feel like there are countless things to worry about. We have this feeling that it should be easier today with all of the conveniences that we have, but then it actually feels a lot harder, a lot more demanding, a lot more uncertain. But I think it's a really important discussion to try to figure out how we can reach for that again, try to define what a village is, and hopefully in that, bringing back a sense of community, a support system so we don't feel so alone in managing our homes and raising our children. Don't forget to use my link in the description box below and use code FARMHOUSE50 to shop my ThredUp favorites and get 50% off your first order plus free shipping.